And at the moment, Spennymoor are doing what Spennymoor do and finishing the season in an exciting vein of form. It's kind of become tradition, hasn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I've always been very loyal to managers, and you look through the club history, from Jason and Tommy through to Lewis, Anthony and Bernard, followed them by Graham. I've always been a great believer that you kind of give them the backing. People think that the budgets we've had, I just laugh at some of the things I've seen over the years. The truth is we've always run it tight. We've always run it sensible, linked it to performance and incentive, and people put 1 and 1 together and normally get 10. But that's just football, But this year, we made the change at in December of last season. Graham then really got in with Clarkey from the January and did an incredible job getting within a point really of the playoffs. But then this season, and again the budgets then were reduced again this year. So not just on the football, on other areas, because we're driving towards making the club self-sustainable. But I think also Graham, I think he's a unique individual. I think that when I look at Gemma, and I look at his personal life, I think for the challenges that he's had for the last 6 years to do what he does, which works well because he's very much part-time, which suits him and his family. It suits me as well. I think he's done an incredible job, backed by Clarkey plus Dan and Jason, supporting him from the knowledge that Jason's got. But I think it just shows the real resilience and focus for him to have done what he's done with the personal side as well.
Yeah, I think, in football there's a lot said about, qualities of tactics and whatever it might be for a manager, but there's a lot to be said, isn't it, for a club like ours to just have a really good man at the helm like Graham is?
Yes, and I go every month, which you're well aware, for training and reviews, and we meet the players and the management once a month, and we'll look through data, we'll look through stats. But I go back to, Bob Paisley being from Henley Hall. I was with a guy called George Walker, who was a legend in taking top players through to pro clubs. You look at your Brian Cloughs and you look at your Alex Fergusons and all of these people. The world's changed, but these were all just great man managers. And I look at Graham, and it's that art. It's like business. It's no different whether you run football. It's about leadership, development, your people, getting the best out of them. But I think as a club we've got a real good balance. And I think what he's done this year is there's been ups and downs. But also when you look at the FA Cup, we've got the furthest out of any North East club. We've got the 4th qualifying round of the FA Cup. Then to get this club into the trophy final is some achievement. We have a debate, and we laughed earlier about, I talked to the guys about, 77, 78, and we nearly got the trophy final. But like I said to some of the guys when I saw them on Saturday, when you look at the teams who are in that competition versus the teams that are in 24-25, you're comparing apples with eggs. You look back at the old Spennymoor United's run, not taking anything from it, but playing Atherstone, playing Gainsborough, playing Whitby, Dagenham, a 2-leg semi-final. Look at where the guys have been this year. You've had Alfreton away, which is one of the toughest games you'll ever get. Billy's team's at home. Shields, who are a full-time team. Boston, who are a full-time team. Hampton and Richmond, a lovely, lovely local journey, which is nearly a 600-mile round trip. Sutton United, full-time, who've just been relegated from League 2. Then, you then look and think you're going to play Rochdale. So they've done it the hard way. And like I said earlier, this is a part-time club with players and management who, by the time we get to the end of the year, will have been, including pre-season, done 65 games and travelled the excess of 5,000 mile, and they have a job.
Yeah, it is incredible. I've just been looking actually at the stats. Ollie Dyson played his 50th game. He's only on loan. 50 games he's already played for the club. It's incredible the amount of congestion we've had this year and the amount of the standard they've been able to maintain for most of that.
And again, it is a big area of frustration, not just for us as a part-time club. I'm not saying it's easy for any full-time clubs, but if I look at clubs like Darlington again, I'm sure if we talk to the guys in Darlington, they'll be saying exactly the same. When you look at the travel that we've got, instead of it being a North, South and Midlands, then you look at 46 league games plus the FA Cup plus the FA Trophy plus the County Cup. I look at our loan costs this year, and I'm sure Darlington's the same. I look at injuries. I look at how many people have had injuries, how many games they've missed. We track all data at MI about how many games they play, what the distances they run. Great, but when you look at the commitment the guys have put in and the demands that's put on them, I still think that a lot of people in the FA and football, because they're so detached from it, think that we're a full-time club that just fit this in. They forget we're a part-time club, like the majority are in the National North and probably South. they're part-time, they have jobs, they have other commitments. Yeah, we have a small number of full-time people, but that again is the funding and support that you got through people like myself, and other clubs are not as fortunate to do that.
Absolutely. And looking back directly at the weekend, obviously the glory of that victory at Rochdale, how much did you enjoy being at the game itself, and then at the heart of the celebrations back in the town afterwards as well?
Yeah, just proud again. I mean, when you look and think, the town will have been to Wembley twice and do the Vars and the trophy. And I know you were incredibly excited because you'd be there,
yes.
and I heard your kind of, the respect and tribute to your dad, the same as Graham's, which we'll touch on. But to be able to go there and sample that, and we've had 4 big FA Sunday Cups. We've done Anfield 3 times, and we did the Stadium of Light. We've done Wembley in 2013. I actually had to charter a plane and fly Spennymoor to Guernsey in 2013. So this is really for me. This is for the supporters. This is for the volunteers. This is for the people who put that effort in. So yeah, it makes you incredibly proud. But I thought on the day, I'm always honest when people ask the question, because I'm a guy who's played the level as well, so I understand football, and we rode our luck second half, but you can't get any better than a 95th minute kind of equaliser, then win on penalties. But we rode our luck, but maybe we earned a bit of luck.
And like you say, there was something just magical about that connection with Graham and his dad, who obviously managed here, and it was a bit of a non-league legend, wasn't he? A local legend, Tony, his dad. And there is just that lovely little football story about that.
And it's always interesting, but there's always links with different people, and the amount of people who I've had messages off, and there's nobody you don't know in football, and we always laugh, even in business, wherever you are in the world, you bump into somebody you know. But Tony tried to actually sign me 2 or 3 times when I was 18 and 19, because at the time he was Bishop, he was Gateshead, and again it's quite ironic, but Gary Pearson, who unfortunately, remember Gary, who was like my youngest brother, again played for Darlow, played for other clubs. He passed away suddenly with a heart attack in June 22, but Gary played for Tony and was a massive fan, and I know lots of people who played. Paul Walker, who was a legend in the North East game, these all kind of just raved about Tony, and the comment always used to be, he's just a proper football guy. But at the same time, that's Graham. What you see is what you get, and I'm sure if his dad was kind of, which he will be, looking down, and you look, and Saturday was a perfect example. Me and Jason, we just kind of, how things give you flashbacks. But how it likes about Gary, who passed away, the one of the songs they played at his funeral was Purple Rain. We in the car coming back, what's the first song that comes on when I'm sitting with Jason and Joanne? And you just think, and then you look at the way that we equalised, then you look at the penalties, and that came on, and then the other one, who Stavros Neoklis, who was a founder who built St James Wealth Fund, he was like my second dad. He passed away in kind of July 21. And there was Bad Habits by Ed Sheeran was always the song I remember him by. What song was in when we walked into Wetherspoons? It was on. So it's just bizarre how these things kind of happen. And we've all got different things that make you reflect. But all I'm really looking for is, for everybody to go have an incredible day. It raises the profile of Spennymoor. It raises the profile of County Durham, because everything about us is County Durham. So it just, being a County Durham lad, it just raises the profile, and it just kind of, again, it isn't a black and white thing, because if you look at, it was quite funny on Sunday morning, my eldest son, who's a fanatical, Sunderland, the same as our Ryan is, had sent a picture of my grandson around with his Spenny shirt on. But you know what I'm going to say? It wasn't the black and white, it was the away shirt. So, and the same when I come here, and I know all my friends, they're always in the second and third kit, but they also said to us, could we put a bit red alongside the white and black in the home shirt? So, and we did, because we're not Newcastle, it's actually a North East Football Club that we want everybody in County Durham to support. We want everybody in the town, but we want everybody's second club to really back us. But that just summed it up when I saw the picture of my grandson and he was in his away kit. I just had a laugh.
I did have a chuckle on Saturday as well when Jason and yourself were shouting down, Graham, you and Clark, you can have the day off. Me and Jason will take the team at Wembley.
But it is. I mean, it's like everything in life. When you look at your work or whatever you do, it's where you spend most of your time. And the world we live in today, how many people have we lost in the last 5 years, and how fragile is life? So if you get out of bed and you don't enjoy, why do you do it? You know, and you never forget your roots of being born and bred in, you know, Easton Lane, bringing up in a 2 up, 2 down council house. Your dad was a miner, 40 years down the pits. You know, that's actually what shapes you as a person. That gives you that resilience and that kind of desire to keep going, whatever setbacks you get. You know, and you look at Silicon Valley in America, and they'll always talk about it, fake it till you make it, and you know, you can never be a success unless you fail. But it is that what's gone on, it's always that challenge. And you look at what Graham's doing with his personal side, and it's got to drive you on, and it gives you the focus to kind of not think about maybe some of your things. And I always said that I lost my mum when I was 18-year-old at 50-year-old and had to pack in pro football within 6 months. So I lost my mum and had to pack in. But every time I go to the graveyard every month and I see children who are 1 year, 2 year, 3 year, there's always somebody worse off than you.
And I know from having conversations with you previously, you're really good on the stats, and you love already had your eyes all over the run-in for this season.
Jason Ainslie calls me Google head.
Yeah, so I can never have a, because I always get it wrong, and then you pick us up on a stat that I've got wrong. But the run-in now, I'm terrible at predictions, but you'll have been all over all the teams and permutations. Yeah. Is it possible for us to have this?
Absolutely. We sat down at the start of February. I did the review. We do the monthly review with Jason, with Graham, with Clarkey, Dan. Ian comes down, and we sit with all the players and we go through the previous month's stats, and we award a player of the month, and we have a good motivational chat is what I call it. And we went down in February, and I always remember at the start of Feb saying to them, look, you're not going to make the playoffs because you're absolutely hopeless, you're rubbish. You haven't beat any of your top teams above you away from home, and you haven't really done it at home. And if you look at your fixtures that you've got really for your next 3 months, you've got mostly, bar the odd team, you've got most of the bottom 10 at home, but you've actually got all of the top 10 away. So if you need to get in the playoffs, you're going to need to win at some of these places, because if you don't, you won't get in. However, you know, if you look historically, because we're on 46 games now, 75 points get you there or thereabouts in the playoffs. Last year we missed out by 1, and I said to the team, if you're going to win, you know, if you're going to get in the playoffs, you'll need to win that, do that, and that's where I think you'll be. But quite ironic when you look at where we are now, and you're sitting there now, you've got 4 games left. We've been to Kidderminster and won. We've been to Kings Lynn and won. They've been to Hereford and won. And then when I met them for the review at the start of April, as I said to them, you know, reverse psychology worked, because telling you were so hopeless, you were useless and you weren't going to get in has actually just proved the other way around. But look, I think I always say the best team always wins the league. The best team never necessarily wins the cups, but yet you finish where you deserve to finish. And the only thing we can say is, when we set our objectives at the start of the year, it was a good run of the FA Cup. We've got the 4th qualifying round and the furthest out of all North East clubs. We're in the final of the FA Trophy. And on top of that, the challenge is the playoffs. That's what we set. Now, we're 4 games out. We're sitting now with a mega hard game at Scunthorpe. Then we've obviously got a local derby with Shields. And then we've got Oxford and we've got Scarborough at home. It's there to do it. And they've got 12 points. They're sitting now on 69. So we'll see. I think they're probably going to need at least 7, possibly 9. But would we have taken that 2 months ago? Would we have taken that 3 months ago? So I think, you know, where I think they've got a big run in. I think, you know, they're not robots. They've played so many games. But they've put themselves right in it now, you know, and you can't run away from the level of commitment, effort they've all put in, the travel. It's been an incredible effort. So the challenge always is to finish at least top 10 if they don't make it, but give it the best, give it their all, and we'll see where we end up. But it's absolutely there, up to us now to do. 2 away, 2 home. It's, you know, if you get in, you'll deserve it. If you don't, you'll not. I might have a little bit sympathy because of the FA Cup and the FA Trophy, but like I said to Graham now with a final, you might as well get knocked off in the first round if you don't win it. So they've got 4 cup finals, and what we also said when I went down on the Thursday before the FA Trophy tie, I met the players on the Thursday night for the last meeting and to give them a bit of a G up, you know, but. You know, what they have done now is, you know, I said to them at the time, I think that game was so important. If they won the Rochdale game, I think they'd build momentum going into Curzon, which they did, which by the sounds of the first half was pretty even. But I have spies at every game who give us kind of independent views. And second half, apparently could have scored 6 or 7. But that's building that momentum and freshening things up. And also you've got people come in where, look at the fate of us signing the keeper from Derby, Rohan, on the Monday, and then he saves the penalty. But Brad James now can come back and be fit. You know, Dan Rowe, who's been is now cut. So some big players. Callum Ross has been out for a long period. He came on for. So it's now going to be competition, and suddenly Will Harris is doing the business, which there's never doubt in the lad's ability, and now he's now delivering that on the pitch, which is great. So there's going to be a big run in. They've got Wembley to play for, so they'll never get a better incentive to win the 4 games, knowing you want to get in the shop window for Wembley.
That's the carrot, isn't it? I think people was talking about maybe there's a freedom because the season's already become a good one because we've got to Wembley, but the carrot for these lads now is they want to be on that team sheet, don't they? Or
at least involved, because if you look at the numbers now and how many you can name, but the competition's fierce, but that's what you want. So it's all to play for, and then you can't. We can't ask any more. And I said that to them last Thursday. How proud I was, and the efforts, and the respect, the attitude, and real good bunch from top to bottom. I'm so proud of the way they've done it. Go out there and do yourself justice, which you can't ask any more.
And obviously looking ahead and beyond that Wembley final, this season will be one that we'll cherish, I'm sure, whatever happens in the next month. But what are the ambitions beyond there? What are the targets we're setting? What are the things on the to-do list right now?
One of the things I said to you earlier in the interview was that I think we had a real pivotal stage. I've got a board who are all from Spenny. I've got the work we've spent on the pitch, the money that's been invested in the ground, the youth programme, which I've touched on, that's going arm's length at the end of this year, going to be run now from Gareth and the team of kind of parents or coaches, where they've got autonomy to run it their way with just an arm's length agreement with the football club. The academy's moving into year 3. You look at the work Gavin Cogden's done there with the likes of Matty Dolan and Ben Beals at Billingham, but then Graham is taking ownership of the academy for next year and integrating that into the first team. Moves in the community, as much as we've done, we're not scratching the surface. The ladies team, how great was it to see as many of the ladies down there supporting on Saturday? Fantastic. So it's this whole infrastructure. But I go back to my point to say, look, as a club now, I've had 16 years of building what we've done. All the hard yards of the infrastructure, the ground is there now. Now, I think that the club is at a real key stage, because I think one of the biggest challenges we've got now is, there's going to be elections coming soon, and I think that is going to be a big thing. And the reason I say that is that if I look at the ground today, we're landlocked. We haven't got 3G. We haven't got training academy functions in here, and we never will because of where we are. It's like the good old Roker Park and Goodison, and but I've now got a number of different investors. I've got a number of people from a property background, and people, and PR. There's never such thing as bad PR. Because what we're doing now can only help. Lots of new people interested coming in. We've got a lot of exciting sponsorships to announce, very soon. And for the first time, doing 3-year deals. We've got some 3-year 6-figure deals to announce. So it builds that momentum. But being brutally honest, in 16 years, I'm looking saying, out of everything we've just discussed, bar Neil Foster helping me with the disabled toilets, Ian helping me with the floodlights. That was under a Labour majority. I look now and say, in the last 8 years, I generally wouldn't know anybody from the town council. I wouldn't know anybody who is in. And if what I've done for 16 years, I've not got people like that through the door saying, how important it is, then we have a problem. And my issue is absolutely clear, is that what I'm looking for is you've now got the likes of Ian, you've got Steve Gillen. I mean, Ian I've known for over 10 years, and the support he helped us here when Labour did have a majority. But Ian also has been worked for us for 5 years. He came to work in my family foundation, doing some great work. And again, that summed up the individual. He came for the foundation, and my foundation values were exactly what I look at, say, Labour's plan for the town. It ticks them boxes. And what I think is absolutely key for this town now is, in 8 years, you haven't had a majority. And I think, and I'm not a big politician, but what I am saying is, for what I've done in the town for 16 years, we've touched on the size of the population, we've touched on what's here, who we're competing against. And the clear message to me is that we absolutely need a majority in this town who's going to get behind the football club. Because it isn't 11 or 12. We've talked at length about how important it is, the kids off the street. And on top of that, what also we need is somebody then, in Spennymoor, who actually represents Spennymoor on the county council, because we need a voice, because we are County Durham. I am from County Durham. The town is County Durham. Look at all the social media. Look north. Who was it talking about? Spennymoor town, from County Durham. So what we need is, we need to have a majority. And when I say majority, my clear view is, I look at the plan that Labour have put, and I'm 100% putting my support behind Labour. I'm putting my 100% support behind Ian and his colleagues, because for me, if Ian backs his colleagues, in the time I've known Ian, that's good enough for me. However, what I'd also say is that one thing in my life's always been about making decisions and being judged by what you do. And as it stands today in the town, who do I go to and say I'm not happy with the support? Because suddenly you've got nobody owning it, nobody in majority, so everybody will just blame everybody. I'm saying, whoever it is, let's put a majority in, which I believe absolutely should be Labour, and hold them to account. The plan that they say they're going to deliver actually covers everything around what we're talking about as a club. Now, I've got plans and a vision for the next 5 years for this club to potentially move to a total different level, bringing property, investors. But that will not work if we haven't got a majority in the town, if we haven't got Durham County Council on board and Spenny having a big voice in there to push. Like you see, we've got cricket, we've got Durham County Cricket at Chester Street. Why can we not have the highest ranked club in County Durham going for the Football League? Now, doing that, the only way that'll work is there's lots of land in Spennymoor, there's lots of areas unused, looking at a purpose-built facility, looking at 3G, looking at hubs for the elderly, food banks, looking at how we put further education, put housing on that, put retail on that, mixed use, create jobs, but more importantly, then have the town and everything ready to go at the next level. Because if we don't get that level of support and have people in power who can make that decision, I think what you'll then find is the club actually is where it is without ultimately an individual supporter who has to do everything.
And what you're talking about there, people might say that's a really lofty dream and things like that, but the journey this club's been on now, you can't rule it out. And what you've done already should have earned the trust of these people to come and really support you, shouldn't it?
Has anybody done more for Spennymoor than me in 16 years? And I'm not from Spennymoor, I'm from Easton Lane. Now, what I've also got is that I've got a board and I've got a committed team who all have something in common. They all from Spennymoor or associated with Spennymoor. And what they also want to do is, I'm not really interested in how people talking about Labour in London. I couldn't care less. What I'm interested in is Spennymoor and County Durham. That's all I'm interested in. And what we've talked about is we've done all of this for 16 years. However, if we then find that there's no change in the town council or the county council, and it's just lots of different people who can't make a decision and want to blame each other, then that's not me throwing my toys out the pram and saying, what I'm also then saying is, I'm not going to risk this football club in the future. And I've explained how hard it is to compete, of examples of Rochdale or what have you. But there's umpteen examples who have town councils on board, who have county councils on board. They haven't done what I've done for 16 years, getting the children off the street, the youth, the ladies, the community. And I just know that getting the town council absolutely in a position of making that decision, I don't believe you'll ever do that unless you've got somebody actually in a majority who can be held accountable, who can then make a voice in Durham County Council and get a voice to challenge them in there. Then I actually think we have a plan and a vision, and I've got investors, I've got people behind us, and I think we've actually got the right people to come on board who can actually deliver that plan. But that isn't just a football plan. That's actually creating jobs in Spennymoor, looking at retail, looking at housing, looking at jobs, looking at academy, looking at 3G, giving you a purpose-built facility that has the education, the hospitality. The land is sitting in the town and the but actually, if we don't have somebody who we can hold account and challenge because they should come and support us, I actually think the best way for the club will end up being is, I'll probably over the next 6 or 12 months, is then make sure we're not challenging this club to be in a level where I can't afford and risk the football club. Because, be careful what you wish for. 12 months ago, people were talking about Blythe Spartans and getting excited about going to the Championship and doing this. And Blythe have had 2 relegations in a year and nearly lost the football club. And these have nearly been there. Darlington's had issues with different owners. But this club is set up in a way where it should always be there in the long term. But actually, other people in this town have to decide, do they want to just basically carry on where they are and find their level, whatever is that affordable level for the long term? Or do they really want to go to the next level and back the plans to then ultimately see if we can take this club to the next level and give it the infrastructure and everything it needs to compete? The challenge I'd say to everybody is, in 16 years, we've done everything and more that I've said we'd ever do.
And for now, obviously, the short-term focus is going to be on the arches of Wembley. I mean, how much are you looking forward to it, and how much pride is it going to give you looking down and seeing hopefully thousands and thousands of Spennymoor fans watching their team on Wembley again?
And these are things, again, where when I talk about, because, I'm not somebody who's ever been involved in politics. I'm not. But even that is an important area where my dad was Labour through and through. He's a miner for 40 years. Most of my friends and family. John Cordwell's a good example. If you look at John Cordwell, who was my boss at the Cordwell Group, John's now has nailed his hat and he's massed to Labour. He was, there's a number of people now actually saying, look, the world needs to change for whatever reason, because it's been so bad for so long. And when you talk about the Wembley trip, the importance, I've actually made a request with Ian to take to the town council to donate some money for the Wembley fund. That's not for me. That actually then is to then work off the coach prices. When we went to the final in 2013, again in 2013 we had a majority in power. We then looked at getting the ticket prices as low as we could. We got the coaches down for £20. So the aim was to basically get the prices as low as possible. So when you talk about these areas and the importance, even that's a good example, because now when that request goes to the town council, if you've then got 17 or 22 members, however they are, half of them think, they're just football team, or because they don't understand. Because my point is, in 16 years, who are you? In 8 years, outside of Ian, I wouldn't know anybody. Now, I should surely be the first person they come, and also not just when there's good news like this now, coming and saying, how do we get the town? So the market. I'm saying to the guys, take the town to Wembley. But it has to have everybody on board. Everybody has to come for us to do what we need to do. For us to now get the coach price at the right level, support that weekend. Yeah, and get sponsors and partners, but also let's get the town council in. What about Durham County Council? Look what we're doing for your area. This is your area. This is your town.
Yeah, you mentioned about the coach travel. I think there's a campaign going to be launched, isn't it, to try and give people the opportunity to support that. I mean, you've been subsidising the coach travel all season this year to away games, very quietly, by the way. But this game, now obviously we've got 7,000 tickets minimum. We want to try and make sure that it's affordable for as many people in the town to go there, and this is what the campaign's all about.
We'll be putting some PR out shortly, which will be asking all of our partners, sponsors, individual donors to donate. That'll then be to cover some of the cost of the weekend, because again, we're not round the corner from Wembley. We're not an hour away like Aldershot. We'll actually have to potentially have 2 nights, depending on which way it works and the logistics of it. But then on top of that, I want to try and get the coaches as low as possible. So we're going back to the coach company who've had substantial funds for us this year to do a major sponsorship deal. But that's not paying money to the football club. That's taking that off the coach price. But then we've also made a request to the town council to donate to take it off the coach price. And at the same time, on the fund we generate, we'll then put that together to try and take as many people. What I don't want is anybody who isn't in a position to go, because they'll have the tickets of £20 or £30. I want everybody to be able to go. So I think what we all want to do is get our sponsors, our partners, everybody help where they can to do what we do. Because actually, as we keep saying, it's not a town of 200,000 people. It's a town of 22,000 people. So it's absolutely important that everybody comes together to try and get everybody and make it affordable for all.
Well, Brad, thanks for your time this afternoon. I mean, we've covered substantial ground there. We've looked at the... I think you're late for your next one. We've looked at the history, which is glorious. We've looked at the present, which has the potential to be unbelievable. We're starting to talk about the future, and as you say, the importance of these local elections and everything that's going on in the town and around the area. I mean, what would be your final message, just to sum up?
Yeah, I think the next month is for everybody in the town to be so proud as to where the football club is, and get yourselves down tomorrow night to the County Cup final and really cheer on the 17s and 18s, because it's such an achievement. Like I said to you, going back for my under 18 days of winning that, with Kitson and beating Spenny, how proud we were to win the Durham Cup. But to have 2 teams in that final on the Brewery Field is so get down and support the youth. The last 2-3 weeks, let's get on supporting the ladies, and everybody I know is putting all the effort in on the youths, because they'll be having all the midweek games, and I mentioned the 17-18s, but I know the mini moves starting at 4, but we've also had wins in under 6s, under 8s, under 9s, 12s, 13s. So there's been some incredible success in the youth programme. The academy, look at some of the teams that the academy's beat, and also some of the names in there. when I look at, you know, people like Archie Dodds, you know, sitting on the bench for the first team, having a Dodds who can actually have a lovely left foot, not like his dad Lewis. But starting to look at that, then look at the community side, and we've then got a big 3-4 weeks of the league. Then we've obviously got the trophy. Everybody will give their all, and then the only thing I do ask then is, you know, come May the 1st, I've mapped out what the plan and the vision is potentially for the football club in the next 5 years. I'd like everybody to get behind on what I've said. I'm putting my back and 100% behind Ian and Labour, and I'd ask anybody who has, you know, the long-term views of the football club and the town, who's benefiting from it, not just on the football but everything about it, get behind, and let's try and get a real majority in the town that we hold to account to support us, and let's get a voice in Durham County Council and challenge them and try to get the vision for the town and County Durham where it needs to be in the next 5 years. But for everybody just to go and enjoy another trip to Wembley, and who knows, and, you know, fingers crossed we can go down. One thing's we've done ourselves proud. We'll go there, do our best. Big challenge, another full-time team, but I'm sure Graham, Jay, all the management team will go there, give it their all, and regardless, we'll have a brilliant weekend, and we'll try our utmost over the next week to try and get them coach prices and everything as affordable as possible to get everybody down to London.